This morning. What happened to the currency?
Well, the rand didn't forget. It was again weak, and we'll look at that. So Pravin Gordhan is still South Africa's finance minister tonight. He confirmed this to journalists this afternoon as he entered the High Court in Pretoria. The case being heard relates to Gordhan's request for a declaratory order to prevent him from intervening in the relationship between the banks and companies linked to the controversial Gupta family. Well, he says while he may be in his job, there's been another day of speculation that he does face the axe after he was summoned home from an investor roadshow in London by President Jacob Zuma. And as you can see, the rand did continue to weaken, quite volatile today. Markets have been rattled basically since the president ordered Gordhan to return home yesterday. Now that accounts for this very big spike here. And remember that a move upwards on this chart means a weaker rand and a stronger dollar. Then you can see the currency had quite a rough ride today. By the close of business, it was still 1% lower against the dollar. Well, let's run through today's events now. Joining us is SABC reporter Devin Murugan. And let's start with this morning, because you were there when Pravin Gordhan touched down.
Yeah, it was a big runaround today from the airport to Lutuli House and then to the Pretoria High Court. Let's start at the airport. We were there early, waiting to see what the finance minister had to say about his abrupt departure from the investment roadshow in London. So there he was, a visibly exhausted finance minister coming out of the airport doors. And I put the question to him immediately, Minister, why do you think you were called so abruptly and abandoned the show? And he basically said that he was acting on the president's instruction.
Let's take a listen.
The president is my boss, so if he asks us to come back, we must come back, and we are back in South Africa. Yesterday we met about 50 odd investors who buy our bonds, which means they buy our debt, and who have great faith in our economy and in institutions like the Treasury, who have to manage 2 trillion rands worth of debt and keep their confidence in our economy alive. We also met the ratings agencies, 2 of them face-to-face and 1 through a teleconference, and gave them assurances about the economy, answered their questions about the post-budget developments, and all of that is to make sure that we keep South Africa's good name going, and that people outside see our economy in a positive light, which is of course of benefit to all 50 million South Africans. So let's see what happens.
Your final message to South Africans who are watching this court case and who are watching the events happen, there's a sense of uncertainty, not just business.
Yeah, no, we've got to, we live in an uncertain world, whether it's in South Africa or elsewhere. But what South Africans should be assured is that there are many in government who want to do the right things and make sure that we keep our economy on track and keep our development moving in the right direction, so that future generations can say that we've done our job and done it well.
Sounds like he was emphasizing that a lot of work was actually being done.
Yeah, it's amazing. He just had possibly 12 hours or so. But what he did confirm there, Francis, was that they did touch base with all 3 ratings agencies, and 1 face-to-face with 2, 1 on the teleconference. They met with investors, and these investors are essentially buying bonds. They're buying our debt, and in his words, they look at the country quite favorably. So, amazingly enough, work was done there. And you'll see that the finance minister very cleverly tries to draw parallels between the uncertainty globally and the uncertainty
Donald
at home.
Trump is his best friend. I always think this. All right, let's go to Lutuli House then, because we then started getting reports of possible resignation of the top 6, possibly approving his firing. What did you hear on the ground outside Lutuli House?
All right, it was that time of the day, of course, when you saw that evident in the rand movements. I think at one point in time, the speculation was rife. The rand passed that 13 rand to the dollar mark, and then subsided and came back
we
down.
We can actually show this here, well above 13 to the dollar, kind of in the middle of the day when you were at Luthuli House.
Yes. So the minister whisked himself off from the airport to Luthuli House. There, a consignment of journalists just sat by waiting to find out exactly what is happening. Speculation on Twitter, speculation on social media was that the finance minister was actually penning his resignation letter there. We reliably learned that he did meet with Jesse Duarte of the ANC and the ANC Secretary General Gwede Montashe. We waited hoping that we would get some sort of sense and get a chance to get a soundbite from him. We didn't. He successfully escaped from Luthuli House on his way, as we learned later, to the Pretoria High Court. Who we did manage to speak to, though, was the COSATU Secretary General Bekin Charlie, who also to us expressed this rather big disappointment, as he puts it, on the abrupt calling of the finance minister from abroad. Let's take a listen to that.
If it's a recall, why it could not wait for another 2 days for him to complete the work. The work that he's doing is not as his personal work, it's the work for the country. Any other minister that may come into his shoes, if he has to be replaced, there will be a need at some point in time to undertake the same kind of trip, talking to investors. How the investors going to respond in future if you say, I'm coming from South Africa, I am going to talk to you. Should they take you seriously that you are going to honor that kind of an arrangement?
I'm going to take listeners into the court, but before that, I guess after the day's events, he's still in his job, but I don't think markets are satisfied that he's safe. Do you agree with me?
Well, a lot more convincing still needs to be done. I mean, the finance minister telling journalists as he walked out that he is still in his position. So tonight, Pravin Gordhan is still finance minister. Has the uncertainty gone? Not at all.
All right, thank you very much, Deva Murugan. Well, as he says, the action moved to the court in Pretoria, where Gordhan appeared in the afternoon. Gordhan has applied to have the court declare that he has no powers whatsoever to intervene in the closure of bank accounts linked to the Guptas. There had been drama at the start of the much-anticipated battle between the finance minister and the family at the North Gauteng High Court. The Guptas succeeded in having a certificate by the Finance Intelligence Centre thrown out as part of the evidence. The certificate confirms more than 70 suspicious transactions by the Guptas had been reported to the FIC. The court also agreed there should be no mention of state capture claims made by Deputy Finance Minister BC Jonas during the court hearing. On the other hand, Gordhan's lawyers succeeded in getting the court to throw out the Guptas' argument that Gordhan's application is a mere political conspiracy. Well, Gordhan did face a barrage of questions as he arrived at the court. Let's hear what he had to say.
Minister, there have been lots of rumors today. One of them is that you've resigned. Have you resigned?